Remember the town centre scheme that included the baths? An iconic building in the heart of Chadderton is to be given a new of life as a training restaurant and business startup centre. Chadderton Swimming Baths and Sports Centre has been sold by Oldham Council to the Community Skills Development Agency, which owns the former police station and library next door. Council leader, Councillor Jim McMahon, said, "I am delighted this iconic building, which is part of Chadderton's heritage, will once again be brought back into public use, and I am sure residents will share my sentiments."
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
They just want to exploit us. I put this up on Monday or Tuesday, and it caused a bit of a storm, and I was really surprised on a couple of fronts. But the first thing is, so Blackstone Academy was rated inadequate. I think it's gone now. I think they've even shut the school down, but they run it as an Islamic place. But the school is only half the story. But I'll get the school out of the way first, because it's a story that you can't disagree on, really. Now, the Cron tried to do a positive PR on it and tried to change it and say, oh, they've done well here and they've done well there, and tried to fluff it all up. But these are the simple facts. It catastrophically failed in safeguarding children. The directors, so these are the people like the governors, no criminal records checks. But worse than that, the Ofsted inspector found that no checks had been carried out on the teachers, directors and leaders to see if they were prohibited from working in schools. There's a banned list, and no, I'm not on that banned list, but there's a banned list of people. And you know why there's a banned list of people. Right in the middle of Chadderton. Jim McMahon's Centils. This is right in the middle of his constituency. A school servicing Muslim children comprehensively failed in its safeguarding duties. It even didn't have a child protection policy that was up to date. The school's internet did not have the correct safety features to protect the staff and pupils. The playground was not secure. That means a random, and we started today with 2 girls going missing. That means someone random could come in off the street and take a child away. No outrage from Oldham Council. No outrage from Oldham Council. Not a word from Jim McMahon. And of course, it opened in this historic building. It opened in the library. The Carneige legacy in England and Wales. So these are historic buildings left by a philanthropist. And according to them, it was sold in 2011 and bought by a company called Community Skills Development Agency, CSDA, who planned to turn it into a training centre. No, they turned it into an Islamic school. They turned it into an Islamic school. And the building was sold as a package. Here's Councillor Hibbert. Do you remember Dave Hibbert? He's gone now, I think. I think he was past his sell-by date and his face didn't fit. Although he's trying to reinvent himself as part of this Chadderton partnership, I hear, which is basically a parish council through the back door, through which they control local planning and all sorts of stuff like that. Hibbert was happy that the police station round the corner had been withdrawn from auction and would be marketed as part of a Chadderton Town Centre scheme, which also includes the old library, do you see, the old Carneige library, and the former sports centre and baths. I'm pleased it has been withdrawn because it increases the opportunity for a wider range of options for the site. This is the high street in Chadderton, guys. Yeah, this is the historical part of Chadderton, right? Chadderton Town Hall further along. He refers to it as the Chadderton Town Centre scheme. So you can see that, the Town Centre scheme. And look, in August 2011, the library was sold. So the library and the Edwardian police station, so both of them had been sold. The landmark building, yes, it's a landmark building, will be brought back to life as a training and educational centre, creating 10 jobs. I like all these creating X jobs or Y jobs. They don't create any jobs. They've been bought by Community Skills Development Agency, CSDA. See, so that article to do with the historical webpage on the Carnegie Library was right. CSDA, based in Chadderton Way. Chadderton Way is Cartel Central. There's 2 Cartel streets, main roads, in Coldust, where the businesses are. Now there's actually 3 now, but there were 2 at the time. One was Ferrestall Road North, which many of you will remember the Samosa Shack that got £10,000 grant. And the other one is Chadderton Way, which is a whole host of interesting enterprises to do with money up and down that street. Again, Dave Hibbert. I am delighted these important and iconic buildings will once again be brought back into public use. Is he having a laugh? Since when did a Muslim school mean a building you and I owned has been brought back into public use? The sale has generated income for the borough's council taxpayers. How much income? Council won't tell me, by the way, how much income or how it was sold. Wahid Rahman, chief executive of CSDA, said, remember that name? Remember the town centre scheme that included the baths? An iconic building in the heart of Chadderton is to be given a new of life as a training restaurant and business startup centre. Chadderton Swimming Baths and Sports Centre has been sold by Oldham Council to the Community Skills Development Agency, which owns the former police station and library next door. So you can see CSDA have cleaned up all of these buildings. Council leader, Councillor Jim McMahon, said, I am delighted this iconic building, which is part of Chadderton's heritage, will once again be brought back into public use, and I am sure residents will share my sentiments. The date is important as well as Jim McMahon's quote. I'm not making anything up here. You can see this, but look at the date. 18th of June, 2014. Yep. Sorry, 19th of June, 2014. A year earlier, on the 4th of August, 2013. So this is a year earlier. Jail for shopkeeper who masterminded immigration scam. It was quickly established that Taklada had a team of people working for him, right? Scam. Year earlier, Wahidur Rahman, the chief executive of the training agency in Oldham, was supplying false documents for the scam. Wahidur's died recently. Now, I knew Wahidur. He was a cartel guy. I knew him. I don't hide that I didn't know him. I knew him. He knew me. We grew up in the same places. Wahidur Rahman was also a Labour Party candidate in Coldhurst, I think, at some point or another, trying to become a councillor. I'm sure Moya will confirm it. Yes, Lee, we worked with him, Lee. The last time I worked with Wahidur Rahman was at the old Cardinal Street Centre, which is now gone. It's a lovely old building, I remember. Hard to believe I worked for the council once. You guys aren't. So you can see the connection, yeah? The council sold the swimming baths to an organisation the year after its chief executive had been found guilty for fraud, and that chief executive was a former Labour Party candidate. And the council had already sold them the historic library and the police station. The other director, and the people in the community know as the owner of the CSDA network, is a guy called Mohibur Rahman. You can see Mohibur Rahman straight away. Community Skills Development Agency Limited. So that's CSDA. And to close that loop, Blackstone Learning and Development Centre. Blackstone Academy, remember? The school? So you now know who these people were. The man next to Jim McMahon in the green blazer is Mohibur Rahman. AROOJ SHAH, Mohan Ali, the local councillor. Jim McMahon's there. Naz, in front and centre next to AROOJ SHAH. Naz is the official candidate for Chadderton North in the forthcoming elections. There is Jim McMahon's open relationship with these people. This is the same council that sold Glodwick Baths days before an election to AROOJ SHAH's mates, unlawfully, illegally. Here's the same Jim McMahon who has clear links to CSDA and the people behind CSDA, who the council sold our buildings to. And what did Jim McMahon sell these buildings? What did his council sell these buildings for? The historic library in Chadderton became an Islamic school. So something that all of us could access and did access was taken out of community use and handed over to a number of people who belong to the cartels, who control the block vote. The swimming baths and the sports hall is being converted into an Asian wedding venue. The police station, last time I went past, was for sale again. So maybe they need some more money. It'd be interesting to see how much they want to sell it for and how much they bought it for. And all the figures are kept hidden by the council. The nature of the deal is kept hidden by the council. Can you see why they want to shut me down? Can you see the information I bring to you and present to you in a way where there is no other conclusion to reach? And if any of you can come up with any other rational explanation, I'm all ears. I'm happy to look at this and share with me, please. This town is corrupt. This town, those that run our town, are handing over our assets to the cartels to keep them happy, who in return provide them with a block vote that keeps them in power. How can the council sell public assets to an organisation whose chief executive was found guilty for a massive scam? And that scumbag, sorry, I'm pointing at McMahon, that scumbag has pinned to the top of his Twitter account something falsely claiming I've done something. You're a scumbag, McMahon. Utter vermin. You've sold out this town and you've sold out our people. And I'm not race baiting because I'm black. Plenty of Asian people feel the way I do. They just can't say it because they're terrified of the cartels. I don't believe that there's an independent candidate of any form in North Chadderton. I wish there was. Unfortunately, Chadderton, North Chadderton, Chadderton Central is Labour Party central. I'm increasingly of the opinion that if they sold your house, they sold your street, they sold your children to one of the grooming gangs, the people there would still go and vote Labour. Brainwashed, indoctrinated. How can you sit by and have the most historic library handed over to an organisation that makes it into a Muslim school? How can you sit by and watch as the old baths, the historic baths, becomes a Asian wedding venue with McMahon and the other Labour Party politicians' fingerprints all over it? You then find out that the guy who was the chief executive of the organisation that bought it was convicted. And you dig a little deeper, he's also a former Labour Party candidate in cartel-controlled coal dust. And the guy who needed a deal pushing through is out campaigning with Jim McMahon and AROOJ SHAH. Anywhere you want, McMahon. Bring all of those with you. We're not the racists. You're the one that's betrayed our town and our people. What else are you going to sell? They haven't, Victor. I challenge a single Labour Party councillor from anywhere in this town to defend what's took place. Now, my position is really straightforward. Now, bear in mind, and I do this on purpose. I play on my working class roots and my ethnicity and all of that, and I like to reinforce I'm just an ordinary bloke from who grew up in Westwood. But there's a time in my life when I advised multiple prime ministers. And I'll tell you what needs to happen here. There needs to be an agreement, a rule passed that prohibits the sale of any of our public assets where those buildings will then subsequently be used for a minority group, for the exclusive or predominantly use of a minority group. In a town as divided as ours, these are gateways to community building, to understanding, to prosperous relationships, to harmony. And we take these natural meeting points away from us. Well, it's intentional, isn't it? It just means the white folk can hate me, and I can be scared of the white folk, and the Labour Party can clean up. These buildings should never be sold. They were left to us. How dare you sell a historic library to be changed into an Islamic school? How dare you sell the baths and the sports hall to be changed into an Asian wedding hall? How dare you sell Glodwick Baths, where it's now used by a bunch of Pakistani guys? They put a gym in it with equipment that they've somehow got hold of from Saddleworth. How dare you? How many votes are our children worth? How many votes is the future of our town worth? You'll see on one of the posts, Mark, one of the cartel bum lickers came along, started ranting about, oh, it's 2017, it's old news. I had to remind him, but it was my page and I'll share whatever news I want. And where I came from, 2017 wasn't old news, particularly when what they were doing in 2017 they are doing now. What are the deals that are being made now by these Labour Party politicians, do you think? I bet it's more than a barrel of beer.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.